Hi guys! Today the recipe I've chosen by random for my great grandmother's recipe box is Oriental meatballs. And then it says sweet and sour in the parentheses below it, which means it has a sweet and sour sauce with it. For this recipe you'll need 1.5 pounds of ground beef, 3/4 a cup of oatmeal, dry old-fashioned, a half a cup of milk, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of accent, which accent is actually this seasoning blend, but it has MSG and nasty stuff in it, like chemicals, which I do not mess with or eat at all. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. I'm going to be using this spice blend that will substitute it. A half a teaspoon of onion salt, a half a teaspoon of garlic salt. For both of those, I'm just going to be using garlic powder and onion powder. I really don't like the flavored salts. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which I'll probably add 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt since I'm not using the garlic or onion salt. And then a dash of Tabasco. It also says in this little parentheses right here, I can't really make it out correctly, but it seems to say add few dry onions. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that means like dried minced onion or if she's talking about just minced onion or like finely diced onion, but then I know it says dry. It's the word that I'm guessing is few. I don't know if that's exactly what it says. But that being said, I am just going to finely dice up some onion and add it, hoping that what I'm guessing it to be is correct. So let's go ahead and start making the meatballs, and we'll get to the sauce part later. The instructions simply say mix all ingredients together and make tiny meatballs, brown and drain. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so the spice blend that I'm using instead of accent seasoning, which is just a really old seasoning, they actually still carry it. I'll try to put a picture in right here. I was actually able to find some at the local grocery store, surprisingly, so it is still available. It's just I wouldn't recommend using it. So like I said, the spice blend that I'm going to use instead is a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper. I also added my other spices to this bowl, which I said I wasn't using the onion or garlic salt. I was just gonna use the powder instead, so I did add an extra 1/2 teaspoon of onion and garlic powder. And since I did put a whole teaspoon of salt in here in place of the accent, I'm just gonna do the 1 teaspoon I have. I'm not gonna add any extra. So this onion I'm adding is about 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of finely diced onion in place of that little parentheses of what I think said add few dried onion. Now we got all our ingredients in the bowl, and we'll just go ahead and start mixing. Now that we have all of our meatball ingredients mixed, we're gonna head over to the stove, roll them into the meatball shape, and go ahead and start browning them. I have the stove turned on to a medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead and add some olive oil to the pan. And while the oil is heating up, I'll go ahead and roll little gumball size meatballs. I have the meatballs in the pan, and I'll go ahead and brown them for about 10 minutes, maybe up to 15 minutes because they are bigger than I initially wanted them. They're about the size of a golf ball. But I'll go ahead and cook these and then do that with the rest of the mix. Whenever you're browning the meatballs, you want to just flip them and turn them so that each side gets browned. We're now going to start making the sauce. For the sauce, you'll need 1 8.5-ounce can of crushed pineapple, 1 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 cup of beef bouillon, a half a cup of vinegar or lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, a half a cup of green pepper chopped. Then it says on the bottom to drain the pineapple and save the juice. The directions start by saying, add brown sugar and cornstarch. Add vinegar, pineapple juice, bouillon, and soy sauce. Cook until thick. So we're gonna go ahead and start by adding the brown sugar and cornstarch. And since that doesn't really give me specific instructions on whether that means simply mix them together or add them to the pot and mix them, I'm just gonna whisk them together until combined and then add them to the pot. I'm going to be using vinegar instead of the lemon juice. The sauce has been cooking for about 15-20 minutes on a medium heat, and it's just now starting to get thicker. So I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the instructions. It says, add green pepper and pineapple, pour over meatballs, and simmer 10 minutes. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan just so the meatballs don't stick. Then we'll go ahead and add the meatballs back to this pan, then pour the sauce over the meatballs in this pan and continue to simmer them. Remember that we initially just browned the meatballs, so what we're gonna do now, whenever we return them back to the pan and pour the sauce over to simmer, is gonna thoroughly cook them. Now we'll go ahead and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. The meatballs have been simmering for 10 minutes, so they should be thoroughly cooked now. We'll go ahead and remove this from the heat and set it aside to cool. And here we have our Oriental meatballs with a sweet and sour sauce. Now you can serve this over rice, maybe even like udon style noodles, or you can just eat it by itself, or serve it however your heart desires. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you happen to like this video or found it interesting, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. If you have any comments, questions, or if you happen to make this recipe, let me know in the comments below. If there's a specific vintage recipe that you want me to make, let me know as well in the comments. Bye y'all.